All right, welcome to the Payback team training call. We are on today. We're going over, whoops, wrong button. We're going over some good stuff, some good training from a person that is one of my good friends. He's been in the business for over 11 years. He's come from a sales background. He's been in car sales. He's a family man, a husband, and two great young kids. Welcome, Quentin Kelley.
Hey, Sean, how's it going?
Good. How are you, my man?
Good. I appreciate you letting me come on today.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you coming on. So let's start off by your background. What tell us, where you come from. I know you used to work at Liberty Mutual
hmm
and you
Yeah.
used to be a car salesman. So kind of take us through that whole scenario. How did you go from car salesman all the way to family first life?
Okay. Well, I always wanted to sell cars, and I was working at Sprint at the time, and I saw an ad on what's it called, Career Builder. I don't even know if it's around anymore. And they were offering, get paid what you're worth, all this different stuff. So I went down there, and of course, I decided to do it during the most difficult time. It was 2008, just as everything was crashing and businesses were going out of business. Cash for clunkers, all that kind of stuff. I think you might remember that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I worked in the car business at a Ford dealership down in LaGrange, Georgia, and it was kind of interesting because that's where I first started learning about doing telesales, talking to people, setting appointments, have them come in, take a look at stuff, and it was great. And the first dealership I worked at was a one price dealership, which meant the price on the window was the price you pay. There's no negotiating.
Negotiation.
No negotiations. And that was a tough row to hoe because there was people that would just walk because they're like, you're not going to come down $100. No, we're not. This is the lowest. This is our best price up front. And we had a whole presentation and everything that we had to do to explain it, show them it, a process, a sales system. And then we took them through. And at the end, um, they would either buy or not buy. Um, I did not do well the first few months because I tried to do it my own way. And my sales manager said, why don't you follow our process? And I said, this is what I'll do. I'm going to follow your process from front to back, exactly word for word, like a robot. And at the end of the month, I'm going to tell you this one price thing is a bunch of garbage. Next month, I was the number one salesperson in the whole dealership
Wow.
because I followed the process exactly like they told me to do it. And sales is great, but I eventually didn't want to do that. I wanted to get into management, got into finance, became a finance manager, moved to a Mitsubishi dealership. Once again, never going with the traditional route. So worked there, got a chance to see what it was like outside of hassle free. But the biggest thing I would tell you that I learned from the car business was people filling out credit applications. And I would see people filling out credit applications who were making $2,000 a month, and I'd see people that were making $20,000 or $200,000 a month. So between the time when someone fills out and says they're going to sign something and when they went to the finance office, you get the time to talk because it's going to be 20, 30 minutes. And I just started asking people, I'm like, look, now that the sale is done and everything, that's cool. How do you make $200,000 in a month? How do you make $20,000 in a month? And he told me, he was like, well, look, different people work for yourself. You can't work for somebody else. You got to be willing to get out there. You got to be willing to um, get into finance or things like that. But I didn't know how to get into finance. I'm already at a point where I've got one child at the time. No, I didn't have a kid at the time, but I didn't know how to change it up. I didn't want to go to college for finance. I didn't know any of this kind of stuff, right? Too late for me on that.
Sure.
So I started working at the dealership and we had our first son. And the only time I would see him was Wednesdays and Sundays, because those were my days off. Otherwise, I was leaving before he was up or coming home after he was in bed. And I would help during the middle of the night, but there was no real connection or bond. And I was like, one of the sales guys that was in there, an old timer, and he said to me, he goes, "You can work here as much as you want, but at the end of the day, when you leave, they're going to buy a cheap Publix birthday cake and have a little party for you, but your name is never going to be on that building.
Hmm.
The only person that's going to know that you spent forever at this dealership is your kids." And
Wow.
I'm like, whoa. He yells, "Hey, man, I know you're a family man and everything, but take it from me, who has a second set of kids, second wife. This is not what you're meant to do." So I started looking for something that was going to give me a legacy, because I like something that helped people, but at the same time, I wanted to make sure I was making money too. And I found insurance, right?
Okay.
Started working at Liberty Mutual. Liberty Mutual was great. It's everything I've ever wanted. 9 to 5 job, office, dress up, do your meetings. You know, you got pension, you got days off, holiday pay, PTO, everything I've ever wanted. And it was just, I couldn't stand it. Because you
What
had
was
to
it about
be.
insurance, Quentin, that got you intrigued in insurance?
This is what got me intrigued about insurance, is that you can build a residual income. You could build a legacy. It was the only business I could see where there was an end game. Selling cars, you're just selling cars, but there's nothing there at the end when you're finished, unless you set up something like a 401k or something like that. You don't have anything, right?
Yeah.
So I said, if I get into insurance and I really work this long enough, I can have legacy income that even if I passed away, my kids had something that was still coming to them, you know?
Sure.
And that's what I liked about it. But when I got into Liberty Mutual, um, they sell auto, home, and life. I had to take a training course on life insurance. I never understood how it worked. No one explained it to me. I bought it when I had my son, but I didn't know how it really worked. And I got to the end of that course and I said, let me get this straight. I could put $100 a month into something. And if I die, my family gets $1 million. And they're like, yes. I said, is this legit? And they were like, yes. And I went nuts. I started selling life insurance to a ton of people, to the point that corporate came down and wanted to see if I was doing legitimate paperwork. But I mean, I was telling everybody about life insurance. I would walk in, and if I was talking to a family about life insurance and the grandchild walked across the floor, I'd point at them and I said, "Are they covered?" "No." "Okay, we're going to get a policy on them." "Are they covered? Are they covered?" And we would do 3 or 4 policies per house. I mean, cause like, and I'm like, let me tell you about this thing that you never heard about before. But you could take money, a little bit of money, and if you die, you get a ton of money. That was my presentation. You put in this much and you get all of this.
Super
And they were
simple.
like, wow. So I ended up leaving there because the branch manager said, "You do realize we're an auto and home company that happens to do life. So is this the best path for you?" And I realized it wasn't. And that's when I got into my practice company for final expense. So,
And where did you go from there?
so it was a good company. There it was very cut and dry. All they did was final expense. That's all they
Okay.
did. So you didn't have to, some people were doing Medicare. No one was doing mortgage protection or anything like that. This is how they started you off with that company. They said, you're going to get on a direct mail lead order, and it's $455 per week. And you get a county, and they're going to send a constant flow of direct mail to that particular county. Whatever comes in is all yours. You
Locked out.
started paying that before you're like, okay, I'm going to join you. You pay that week 1. Okay. So while you're waiting for contracting and getting through all the stuff, you're 4 weeks in, haven't been able to sell one thing, and you're probably $1,600
In the hole.
already, yeah, in the hole. But they
Wow.
were like, by the time you're done with contracting, your leads will start to come in, which they did. And it makes you hungry because you're like, I don't have, I had to use a credit card that I had, and they were just teaching you don't set appointments. You take the cards, you go to the door, you knock on it, you hold it up and say, hey, I was helping such and such down the street. We've been trying to contact you. This is the form you filled out. Let's see if you qualify. And we were taught to just go ahead and put your foot across the threshold. That you just walk. You said you look and you see if you can find the dining room table, and you just walk right in the house.
Yeah.
And they said if
And
they
it
don't
worked.
want you there, they'll tell you don't be there. I've been thrown out of a couple houses, but for the most part, you'd be shocked how many people will let you sit down at their dining room table.
Absolutely. And then when they let you sit down, they're not going to kick you out because
Yeah,
they
you've already
invited you
told
in.
me. Yeah. Oh, I'm not
Yeah.
interested. You let a stranger walk in your house and you're not interested. Very high closing rate. Very high closing
Right.
rate.
Yeah. So what got you over to FFL?
So COVID happened in 2019, right? And my second son had a lot of complications when he was born. So he was in the NICU, and my wife was having complications pretty bad too. So I had to come home to watch my oldest son. So I couldn't go out to door knock. And I started working with a network marketing company. I don't know if I can name it or not, but they had a system where you could call leads, and you call those leads, and out of them, you make about $300 each time you sold a plan. Okay. It was
Okay.
selling legal plans. And
Ah,
so, yeah, I think you know what I'm talking about now.
yeah.
So I loved it. I loved it. I got on the phone and I just started selling legal plans. The problem with those plans were there was no contract. Once the people would get the legal help they needed, they would just cancel for no reason. There was no reason to really keep it much longer. So I had a real flow, and I had recruited a bunch of people onto the team to do the exact same thing, and we just had a huge chargebacks. I mean, it was just unbelievable amount of chargebacks, and that's where I met Josh Lockhart. Was at that company,
Okay.
and Josh was a really high in that company, and he ended up leaving. And me and Josh, I would call him up, even though he wasn't my upline. I'm like, this is what I'm doing. What should I do here? And he was always guiding me on what to do. And don't quit. You got it. Da 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 da. And then he left. And I'm like, bro, what's going on? And he was just like, hey, I'm just not going to be with the company anymore. Blah blah blah. So I started seeing him on YouTube and Facebook and all this stuff about how much he was doing. So I called him up about a year later, and I said, Josh, why did you leave this company? And he says, I decided to be a millionaire in the next 2 to 3 years instead of the next 20 to 30 years. I got to go. Bye.
Ah, great answer.
And I said, what?
Yeah, that'll get you thinking, right?
I'm like, what's he talking about? So when I called him back and he realized I wasn't trying to be a mole for our legal plan company, he started talking to me about what they do. I said, tell me the real stuff. I trust you. How are you guys moving so much business? Because the numbers you see on Facebook, that can't be real, right? The top guy at my practice company was doing about 10 grand a month. And I'm telling you, if they could have brought him in on a throne and had a party, because he was the biggest salesperson doing about 10 grand a month. And you're
Wow.
telling me these people are helping 30, 40, 50, 60 families in a month? Ain't no way. I said, there's no way. He goes,
So
this is
you
what
didn't
we do.
believe it at
No, I didn't believe it. I said, there's got to be something. And plus, you see on everything on about FFL is that FFL doesn't really make the money they say they do. They do all sorts
Yeah.
of practices, all this stuff. So I'm like, but Josh wouldn't get involved with that. Josh would not get involved with that. And he
If
said,
that
this is
was
what we
true,
do.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm like, he's a stand-up guy. I know him. So he said, we buy leads, we call the leads, we set appointments, and we go out and we help them.
Simple.
I said, okay, that's the company line. What do you really do? Because I'm thinking about coming over here and I'm putting my family through another change. You
Yeah.
know, I've done insurance. I know what money you can make. Oh, I forgot to tell you at Liberty Mutual, on a term policy, I was making 10%. On a whole life, I was making 20%.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
So, and I was
Wow.
like, so he was like, well, we start at the contract we start at. And I said,
Yeah.
now I know you're not right. This doesn't make sense. Companies don't pay this. And so I started looking at other people and the numbers are adding up. And that's when I joined up.
Wow. So you've been with FFL now for what, 4 years now?
No, actually about 2.5. About 2.5 years.
About 2.5. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. And so you did what, close to almost 300,000 last year in issue paid premium, correct?
Correct. Correct.
Okay. Now, what kind of leads do you work, Quentin?
So I work final expense.
Okay.
That works. Uh, I also do some self-generated on Facebook, so that I can be able to generate some leads there. So I do those and a little bit of IUL leads that I might buy. I don't know if you don't want to promote certain companies or what have you, but I do some IUL leads through them as well. And
Okay.
yeah, that's what I do.
Okay. And so give me an idea of what your day looks like. Like when you wake up in the morning, what do you do when you wake up to start your routine? What do you do to prepare for your day? What do you do to prepare for your work schedule? How far out do you schedule appointments? That kind of thing. What do you look at? How far out do you plan your week? Maybe 2 weeks, maybe month. What does your schedule look like? What is your routine?
Well, I will tell you, this year is different than any other year I've done. I actually sat down in December and created a business plan because what I was realizing is that I was running this more like a very good salesperson, but not a business person. And I was
What would you
like,
say the difference is?
well, salesperson, you sell enough, you look at what's in your checking account and you go, okay, now I can do this. And then you go ahead and do that. And then you sell, and whatever's in the account dictates what you're going to do, how many leads you're going to buy, what you're going to have. You're living day to day by what gets deposited, which is very hard to do, especially with final expense, because you have sold maybe something that's $1,500. That you know is coming, and then what gets deposited might be $100 because a chargeback may have happened. Right
Okay.
now, or you may have purchased leads and said, "I'm going to buy this much leads. It's okay because this is coming in," and that did not come in. Now you're in panic mode to sell whatever you can off of that as quick as you can. So you're living more reactive day to day, which gives you a roller coaster of business. Now, a business person says, okay, here it is, December. Where do I want to be next December? Right? Where am I going to
Mm-hmm.
be? How much can I spend per week? What am I going to spend per week? How much is my goals each week that I'm going to hit? What number should I be at? Why didn't I, have reasons why could this happen? Why could this not happen? What companies am I going to use? Who am I sending my business to? How much, um, what will make me determine if a lead source is good or if a lead source is bad? What will make me, and not over just one batch, but over a 90-day period, what's good, what's bad? Because surprisingly, there's a lot of leads that I sold a lot of that I thought meant they were good, but it's only because I bought so many of them that I closed it. And then there are other ones that I didn't buy as much of, but when I looked at it, closing percentage wise, they were way better. So I
Okay.
evaluated what I was doing, because a lot of the stuff that I tried to do was buy a ton of aged stuff and try to catch what I could out of the aged. But that takes a lot of time, which is hard to
Yeah.
do when you have two kids, a wife. I know I do ministry work, I do a lot of other things. It's funny. I was like, I can't afford to do too much age stuff. I need something where people have just filled something out and they're ready to go, which costs me more money, but it comes out to be a lead and better time management. So I planned out a year, and then break them down into quarters, then broke it down into months, and then where I should be each week. So that's how doing it as a business. And then, like, once I make this much money, this is when I'm going to get a bookkeeper. When I make this much money, this is when I'll get a dialer. When I'm starting to make this much money, this is when I'm going to get a CPA. This when I start making this much money. So I'm not trying to figure out, can I afford one this month? Because last year I got a dialer and he produced some sales in the first 3 or 4 weeks, but I'm like, I can dial myself, and I fired him, you know. And then once again, a month later, I tried again, and he did okay, but then I ended up firing them 3 weeks later because I'm just afraid to keep spending that money because you don't know what's going to be in there. So being in a business mindset, now I'm like, okay, once I bring this on, understand that's going to be a forever purchase. Am I ready for that? No.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's wait, you know?
So you
So,
kind of set goals and levels to where you want to get at in order to move to that next step, right?
right,
And
right,
so by being consistent like that, that allows you to keep that money coming in and have that money going out. Because by hiring those dialers, that takes a little bit of time off of your schedule, right? And a
right,
lot of these dialers are in the Philippines, so they speak really good English and they don't charge that much. Could be $3, $6 an hour, and that's a lot of money for them.
right,
Well, if you're paying $6 an hour, that's what, maybe $1,000 a month. And if they get you one happy family that buys a policy and you make $1,000, you know, one family helped, that pays for your dialer for that year or for that month. Sorry.
right.
But yeah, I mean, it does help you free up time, and it also helps you not necessarily work in your business as much, but on your business so that you can grow and expand and grow that way. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And I will tell
super.
you, you know how they say big changes happen at big events.
Yeah.
This last convention, I'll tell you, I was having a little bit of a struggle towards the end of the year, and I was like, should I go? Should I not go? And I was like, all I need is one nugget. And I will tell you, the biggest nugget that I got from the convention was one word that I don't think I even said last year: profitability. Not making money, profitability. And that was huge because let's say I spent $800 on leads. If in my first sale I made $800, did I make my money back?
Nope.
No. I never understood that. I was like, "Oh, I bought these for 800. I made $800. I made my money back." No, I take my money, and as soon as a commission comes in, this much goes to savings, this much goes to the family account. So that means I only made this much. So in all actuality, I need to make probably $2,400 that this actually made me money on this so that I can buy more leads. Because I kept wondering last year, like, why am I I'm making the money. Why does it seem like it's not adding up? Because I wasn't looking at it correctly about what I was actually making from them. So profitability is huge. Understanding that concept.
Yeah. Profitability is the bread and butter of every business, right?
Yeah,
That's why we have Black Friday, because most businesses, especially startups, are in the red throughout the whole year until Black Friday happens. And then they drop the prices on everything and everybody goes shopping for Christmas time. Now they're in the black instead of in the
yeah.
red.
And now
So,
they're
yeah,
even watering that
profitability
down
is a big.
because they start Black Friday in like what, September now. So
I
it's
know.
like
I
is
think
this?
to mitigate all of the crowd struggles and less fights, right?
Yeah, yeah. I
It
do
turns
miss
into
that
a
though.
Jerry
I
Springer
did that a
show.
couple times. Yeah, I do miss that.
Um, so let's talk about a little bit more about leads. How do you manage your leads? First of all, how many hours a day do you work?
Uh See, different days it's a different amount for me, and which is not probably the best thing, but it's because of the way I have to schedule things. So like on Thursdays, I have ministry stuff in the mornings. I have some networking things I got to do in the morning. So I can't get started till 11, and then it gets shortcutted on there because I have Bible study that evening, right? So
Mhm.
Thursdays are kind of short days for me. Mondays I can get started at 8 and I might not finish till 7, right? But the problem, there's a book I'm reading right now. It talks about wealth, but it talks about different attributes of wealth.
Mhm.
And there had been times where I was working from 8 to 8. My boys go to bed at 9. I saw them an hour. Is that worth it to me? And I understand I have to make now if I have to, I have to, but I try my best to condense it to about 5:30 or 6 o'clock. Let me tell you why, Sean. You know,
Okay.
Parkinson's law. Parkinson's law says if you have more room, you'll fill it with what you're going to do, right? So
Yeah.
if I know I have till 8 o'clock, the calls might be going through, but I am watering it down. Like, what I'm going to do. I might take a little break here, might have a little lunch, spend a little time doing this, spend my time doing that. Da, da, da. When I say, hey, hard cut off at 5:30 today, what can you get accomplished? It's amazing how I can get the same amount of phone calls in, the same amount of appointments. So instead of, and this is another thing I did differently as a business person, is I said, what's the only thing I can control? The amount of calls I make, right? The amount of calls is the ultimate only control I have. Well, two, how many leads I buy, how many calls I make. I can't control how many appointments. I can't control how many sales. I can't control any of that. So I tell myself, okay, I have to make 300 calls a day. I have to make that because I don't have a dialer yet, Sean. I got to step up to your level. I got to make 300 calls a day. Okay, so I use my phone burner, right? I get on there, and I'm like, okay, boom, 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 boom. Learning to time block my appointments. So I might make my appointments not be till like 1 o'clock. And so it might be 1:32, 2:33, 3:34. And then it might go to 6 or 6:30, right? If somebody wants appointments in the morning, I'll let them book a morning appointment. But that means that Tuesday is morning appointments all day. So I'll go 8:30, 9, 9:30, 10, 10:30, 11, 11:30, 12, 12:30. Then from 1 to 5 or 6 will be booking appointments for the next day. Or if I could possibly knock out a one call close right then and there. Because with final expense, they don't, I think it's not even worth setting appointments. They are so impulsive. Try to knock it out now, try to get it done now, and knock that out. But if it's mortgage protection or if it's an IUL lead, you set up the appointments for the next day and then you try to keep them all together so you can make your phone calls in a block because starting and stopping doesn't work very well.
Yeah. So you don't have any dialers right now, so you're making your own calls right now.
I am making all my own calls. I have found that that really helps me with my show rates. Just
How many
it's
appointments do you usually set per day, Quentin? What's your goal?
my goal is 6 to 7 appointments a day. If I could get
Okay.
6 to 7, that's good. I prefer like some. I've had some days where there's 12 to 15. You know what I'm saying? It.
Yeah.
What my main goal is to get through calls.
Okay.
Get through calls, and if the calls don't, let's say I only made 1 or 2 appointments. Now I need to have made 1 or 2 sales that day, okay, or I made at least 6 to 7 appointments for the next day. So
Okay.
that's what I do, um, because I
Do you
do a
work
lot more
Saturdays?
final expense. Huh?
Do you work Saturdays?
If I have to, and what I mean by that is what I have found. I've told people like, "Can you work Saturday?" I say, "Yeah, absolutely." But I will tell you this: I am taking away time from my family. That is my day. If you know 100% you will be here at the time that we're going to be here, I promise you I will be there. Can you give me that same commitment? Oh, let's do Monday. It's
Ah,
like,
love
oh,
that.
okay. But I have had clients who have told me, yes, I will do it. And they are there. So
Yeah.
if they book on a Saturday, they're there. Now, let's say I'm trying to book for a monster week. One Saturday out of the month, I just go, hey, honey, this Saturday, let's just go ahead and I'm gonna let you know I'm gonna be calling from 1 o'clock till 7 because in the morning we do ministry work from 9 to 12, right?
Hmm.
So 1 to 7, I'm making phone calls to book up Monday unless they say they can do it right now. So the way I do my script, it's very simple. If I was going to, let's say it's a mortgage protection lead, right?
Okay.
So I'll say, hey, Sean, this is Quentin Kelley. I'm from the mortgage protection office. Real quick, I've got this form that's been in my office for quite a while now, trying to see if you want to schedule something for Monday or Tuesday. And then they'll go, what is this? They always do that, right? And I
Yeah.
say, this is the one that when you die, get sick or disabled, it pays off the mortgage. Does that ring a bell?
Oh
Oh, a
yeah.
little bit. Okay, cool. Let's do Monday or what do you want? Monday or Tuesday? Monday. Okay, morning or afternoon? Morning. Okay, great. I've got a 9 and 11. What do you want? 9, right? And I have my this is kind of old school, but like I have my planner here and I'll do it on here. I have LCP too.
Okay.
Um, which I love LCP, but for some reason I gotta get my brain right to have it on a screen, look at it. For some reason, if I have a planner right here, I could just write down what it is, and then, or I could see it very easily, and then plug it into LCP after we get off the phone. And I always tell them once they book the appointment, hey, I'm about to send you a text message or an email. If you can respond to either one of those with a yes, that way you'll stay on my calendar. Sound good? Okay, great. You know,
Perfect. I love how you lock that down. That's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah,
Now, let
yeah.
me ask you this. You do a lot of final expense. I know, and I noticed you said that on some Saturdays you work till 7 o'clock. I always
Mhm.
loved working Saturday nights final expense
Really?
because I would literally, yeah, back in the day, well, a couple years ago, not really back in the day, but a couple years ago when I first started, because that's where the older generation is, right? They're at home. And I would literally sit in front of the TV with my financial inventory right here. I'd have my my laptop sitting right in front of me and I'd be watching a football game and I'm just dialing and dialing and dialing. I buy a brand new fresh batch of leads and I'm dialing. If somebody answered the phone, I'm pushing pause on the TV and I'm going through a one call close. And the reason why I loved Saturday nights was because, for one, the older generation, they don't want to go out on Saturday nights, right? If they're in their 60s, 70s, a lot of times they want to just sit at home and they're happy. They just got paid. Husband and wife are together. They're just sitting there watching TV. because they're older. All the younger generation is out older, and they see Saturday nights as dangerous, right? And so I always had a great day on Saturday if I was like, you know what, I'm just going to sit and do final expense right in front of the TV for a couple hours, see how it plays out. And a lot of times I would help like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 families on Saturday night alone. So I loved final expense on Saturday nights.
What
Yeah.
state do you call, Sean?
Well, at that time, I was just dialing local here in Nebraska or in Iowa. Yeah.
Do not call Georgia. Do not call Alabama. Georgia, I'll tell you now. I can't tell you how many people on Saturday nights and they answer the phone and they're just like, "Hey, baby, oh, I'm in the middle of something right now. Hey," and I'm like,
They're
"Okay,
half
yeah." The 60s and 70-year-olds here in Georgia, Alabama, not so much Florida, South Carolina, it's a wrap. That's why, like on Fridays, I don't book. I don't say never, but majority of my appointments I don't book on Friday nights. After 6 on Friday night, I probably have the lowest show rate. But I'm sure different states, different areas, different people. And that's another thing I do differently than last year. Last year, I had leads in California, leads in Georgia, leads in Alabama, and it made it for me, not everybody. For me, I get someone on the phone and it's like, okay, I want to book, and I'm like, oh man, they're in California. It is okay. I'll talk to you at 7 o'clock. Yeah, you're trying to talk to them and book appointment, and next thing you know, you've booked an appointment for 11 o'clock at night on Eastern time, and you're like, "Ah," but you've already booked it. You're there, whatever. So now
Yeah.
I've stayed kind of East Coast, Georgia, Alabama. Alabama's still central, but that's an easy fix, right? So Georgia,
Yeah.
Alabama, South Carolina, Florida, North Carolina is usually where I'm
Okay.
going to stick to now. Um, I have older leads from Maryland, Virginia, Ohio. Those come through as well. But majority, if I'm making phone calls, it's Georgia, Alabama, South Carolina, Florida,
Okay.
just southeast.
So the next thing I want to talk about, Quentin, is you are really, really good with aged final expense leads at getting
Yeah.
them on the phone. I listened to you a few times and I'm like, I'm going to use that. And I liked it because you sounded like you were confused, right? That's kind of
Right.
where I got that from, is from you. You sounded
Okay.
like you were confused, and like the girls just put this on my desk. I'm not even sure why I called. So I was wondering if you can kind of tell us what your script is, and kind of get into that, and how you kind of transition that into a one call close.
Oh man, I forgot about that one, about the one on the desk. So yeah, so I learned this one, um, and I did it with mortgage protection a lot, and I just simply just say, "Hey, Sean, this is Quentin from the Mortgage Protection Office. I know you're probably really busy right now. I'm pretty busy myself. The reason I'm calling you is I was on my way out the door. The ladies told me that no one ever got in contact with you. And so all I'm doing right now is setting a time for us to talk, maybe for like 15, 20 minutes after you get off of work. What time do you get off work?" And they'll tell you what it is. But when the whole point of it is, if you don't sound like you need an appointment right now, or it's like not even a high priority for you,
Yeah.
you'll get a higher show rate. You'll get a higher one. Another one I use a lot now, other than the one I told you before, is I'd call you up and I'd be like, "You want to role play real quick, Sean?"
Sure.
I'm like, "Ring, ring, ring," and
Hello.
"Hey, Sean, this is Quentin Kelley from the Mortgage Protection Office. I'm the manager here. Real quick, I've got this form that's been sitting on my desk for quite a while now. Did my guys ever get back to you about this?"
Uh, what's this about again?
Okay, well, not a problem, Sean. This, like I said, I'm the manager over here. This is the mortgage protection offer that allows you, when you die, get sick or disabled, it pays off the mortgage. Did they ever sit down with you, or did they ever call you about this?
Oh, yeah. I think we talked to somebody a while back. I don't remember. That was a while back though.
Yeah, and let me guess, you told him you wanted to think about it, he never followed back up, and now you still don't have coverage. Am I correct?
Uh yeah, kind of, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah. So these guys are killing me. Sean, this is what I'm going to do. I can't go over this right now, but what I can do is I can set something up for later on. My last appointment tonight is at 6. Do you want to talk around 6:30? That way, I make sure that that's done, and then we'll knock this out for you tonight. Will that work?
Sure.
Okay, perfect. You know, there's so many ways you can go, right? Like
Yeah.
you softballed me. Most people were like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And I do the mortgage protection thing. And then I'm like, did they ever talk to you? Did they ever sit down with you? No, really, I don't remember doing this. I would be surprised, Sean, if you did remember it. I'm clearing out the system and you show incomplete. And these sales guys, if they can't get you on the phone in the first 2 or 3 times, they keep on going. But I know that this is very important to you, Sean. So it's important that I make sure everybody gets contacted. So this is what I'll do, Sean. When do you think you can get off? What time do you get off of work today?
I get off about 5.
5 o'clock. Okay, I can talk to you at 5:45, and I'll let you know now. I am not one of the sales guys, so we're gonna get straight into the point. No fancy presentation. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, would love that.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Talk to you at 5:45. All right.
I love
Um,
that because that way it tells them that you're just going to get to the point and it's not going to
mhm.
take that long. Even though you
Yeah.
didn't say it's not going to take that long, they kind of assume that by the verbiage that you used.
Yeah. And then my
Yeah.
presentation is just like that. When I call them up, I'll be like, "Hey, Sean, it's Quentin over here at the Mortgage Protection Office. You know, is this a bad time to talk?" I learned
No.
that from somebody the other day. I don't know if I was reading it. It might have been TikTok. They said if you say if it's a good time to talk, they try to figure out, is it really a good time to talk? If you say, is this a bad time to talk? Then they go, oh, I don't want them to. It triggers something different in their head where they
Yeah.
go,
Reverse psychology.
yeah, is this a bad time to talk? Then they're kind of like, okay. No, it's fine. It's okay. I hear it all the time. No, it's fine. It's okay. It's just the kids in the background. It's just this or that. Oh, I'm still here at work. It's all sorts of things. So, um, it's interesting. So when I talk to them, I make sure I say a lot of things that aren't salesy. I don't say pass away. I say die.
Yeah.
Salespeople don't say die. They say pass away or something very soft. No, I want it to hit hard, and I
Hard.
want it to
Yeah.
sound very like
Punchy.
I want it to be like they could tell I've been off the sales floor a long time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You
Yeah.
can tell he hasn't been in the sales arena in a long time. And I'll be like, hey, Sean, all right, let's go ahead and get straight to this. Just to make sure this is the program that when you die, it pays off the mortgage. That's what you were looking for, right? Yes. I want that yes. Because I don't want to hear, oh, I was just wanting to get a quote. We're talking tonight because you wanted to get coverage on this and this and this. Yes. Whether it's final expense or anything, they have to tell me yes. If they say stuff like, I want to, well, maybe I was just getting a quote. Okay, what I could do is I could send you back to the sales floor and let one of the sales guys talk to you. They can do all that talking and stuff. The only reason
I
I took
love
my time
that.
out today is because you wanted it. I say that all the time. I do say that. I'm like, oh,
Nobody wants to talk to a salesman.
I'll send them back to the sales floor. I when I talk, I visualize them sitting at a manager's desk, looking at a big window of sales guys sitting at desks, kind of like Wolf of Wall Street, right? They're all
Yeah.
sitting there on the phone, and I just picture that, and I'm like, okay, what I might have to do is send you back to the sales floor and let one of the sales guys show you a presentation about this. No, 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 we can do this. Oh, okay. Oh, I
That's
guarantee
the way
you,
it works.
try it.
People like straight talk, right? And if
Yeah.
you have a script and you sound like you're talking through a script, or if you're overselling it, they feel like they're being sold by a salesman, right? But when you're
Yeah.
straight and you challenge them a little bit, a lot of times they'll back up and say, okay, all right, let's do this. Let's get it done right now.
Hmm.
Right.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
So
Yep.
Quentin, another thing I want to talk about, I want to be real here, right? We have in this industry, we have chargebacks, right?
Hmm.
Chargebacks are really when you get paid a commission and then all of a sudden that client cancels and then the carrier charges you back. So how do you handle chargebacks? And how do you lower the chances of a chargeback?
Okay. Once again, another nugget I got from the convention. All right. It used to be if I got chargebacks, oh, a chargeback. The customer didn't, they lied to me. They did this, they did that, Oh God. And I played the avoiding that company game and sell somewhere else to get paid, right? You could do that
Robbing Peter to
until,
pay Paul.
yeah, you keep doing that. And eventually all you'll have left is American Amicable, and that's not anybody's cup of tea, right? So So at the conference, they really talked about chargebacks. It's just you already got paid. Your
Yeah,
money is not. They gave you money. They gave you money because they thought you were going to have a policy that was on the books for 9 months, and you didn't fulfill your side of the bargain. So all they're just saying is, "Hey, can I have that money back?" And they don't even pull it from your checking account.
no,
When you make your next, you go ahead and say, okay, look, I'll make it up to you. My bad. Let me send you another one. Let's clear this up. That was just an accident. I'll knock one out and send it there. But the second thing that I learned was what I would do last year is, let's say I had a chargeback at Corebridge and I had a chargeback at Transamerica. Well, I'd be like, okay, well, that means I have to send one over here to Corebridge, and then I have to send one over here to Transamerica to clean those up. Well, now you've netted zero, really. You know what I'm saying? And if you don't normally sell, I'm just giving two names, but if you don't sell Transamerica a lot or you don't sell Corebridge a lot, you're always trying to figure out which one am I going to give to them,
yeah,
right? So instead, I have my three companies that I sell all the time. But if certain companies people have to go to different companies. If they charge back, I keep selling my three main companies and I pay back little by little from the profits I made from the companies I already use.
yeah,
Okay? So then that way you're not trying to figure out which client you're going to give to make nothing. That's what you have in your head, I got to give
yeah,
this one to make nothing. And it's not that. If you go ahead and you have your three main companies and you have a chart, now if you have a client that's good for that one, go ahead, send it there if you want to. That's a good way to pay it back because it's a lot quicker. But if you're selling your three main and you're making profit, that allows you to be profitable and make money. You'll have the money to pay off those chargebacks when you need to, so that you're not one offing. Because the problem with it is, let's say you one off a one to a company, it pays it off, and then that one charges back. Now I got to send you another one, and it charges.
yeah,
If you're with these companies that you're already rolling, and that's another thing, don't spread yourself out. Get 2 to 3 companies that you send everything through. That way, when you get chargebacks, you've got 4, 5, 6 deals right behind it already in the queue, so that
to
when
pay
that
those
chargeback
off.
hits, oh, that sucks. So instead of making 2 grand, I made 1,000. Instead of trying to figure out how you're gonna pay that one off. So now you could take the 1,000 and go, okay, this month I have to pay $100 to this one and to this one. But now you still have other money to buy leads and stuff like that, instead of feel like you just got to fill up a hole. So
Yeah. Okay.
yeah. Yeah,
So
and
really, you're
Ron,
just
you do that.
overwriting it. What's that?
I said you do that all the time. You NLG till you die.
Yeah. I write a lot
You-
of NLG. I love NLG right now. Okay, so we only have a few minutes left here.
Mhm.
Last question here for you. If you were a new agent, what would you tell yourself based off of what you know now that would help a new agent that is possibly going to join the company or join your
The
network?
the number one thing I would tell a new agent is, do not limit what you think you can do here. Okay? Don't come into this, and I've told this on some interviews. don't come into this and saying, well, if I make 3 grand, I'll be happy. If I make 6 grand, I'll be happy. Because you will do a certain amount of effort, just enough to be pissed off with the business. Okay. If you come into it and you're saying, okay, I'm going to maximize as much, because biggest mistake I made was I would try to make as much money as I possibly could off the least amount of investment. That seemed like a huge bonus for me.
Yeah,
My ROI is so high. That's great. That's right. No, what you want to do is to say, let me maximize the most of my opportunity as I can. Learn the compensation plan, see what needs to be done so that you can build your team quickly. I wish that when I first started that I would have jumped on and brought people with me that were ready to go as well, and we could have done this all together as a team and have it as fun. That's one thing that I think that's the one thing I wish FFL really pushed more. I think a lot of us have done network marketing and we have PTSD about recruiting people and doing all that stuff. Really, I think it is. And I wish this is the only opportunity that if you did recruit people into it, they would be happy with you a year later. And so
I agree.
go into this thinking, I could give my family the world with this opportunity. Work like you have the best opportunity to maximize your financial life, which then floods into a lot of other areas that you can. So that's what I would definitely tell a brand new person.
I
Just
agree
don't go
with
in
you. I
thinking,
agree with
I'd be
you.
happy with this much.
100%. I wish I would have started recruiting day one as well. A lot of times we feel like we're not competent enough to know enough to recruit to train other people. Well, that's why we have a team, right? We can surround those people and encompass them in the team and help them along the way. But I wish I would have recruited as well, because obviously I believe this is one of the most noblest businesses in the world. There's no way we can go anywhere else to get passive income, help families protect themselves from a financial catastrophe, and put our family in a financial position to succeed and receive that passive income forever. And I believe, that this is, especially with FFL, since we have one of the highest paid comps in the industry, there's no other place to do this. And they support us. They let us do whatever we need to do as long as we stay compliant and as long as we keep by the rules. We can build a business any way we want to. There's nobody watching over our shoulder telling us what to do, what to say, how to say it. It's one of the biggest, the best businesses there is. And it's super
Yeah.
easy to start a business here. It doesn't really cost you that much, right?
Yeah.
So
I would
just
I
to
would
find,
say one thing to that, because I know you got to go, but I think one of the best things about FFL could also be the biggest detriment is that when you come in here, if you want to do final expense, great. If you want to do mortgage protection, great. If you want to do IULs, great. If you want to do be your own bank, great. You can do whatever you want. And a new person, I think what we should definitely do is just niche them down and say, look, this is what we do.
yeah,
We do this.
exactly.
I think we talked about that yesterday. We
Yeah.
do this. And if they
Focus
that
on one
way,
thing until you get successful.
I think that
That's
that's the
that's
huge.
actually that's actually what focus stands for. Follow one course until successful. You
Yeah.
do that, you become successful, you add another thing on, and then you move forward from there, right? I didn't start doing IULs day one. I started on final expense like everybody else. Then I moved to mortgage protection, then I moved to IULs, right? So
Smart.
once you get that training down, you get better at it for sure. Quentin, one last question. If somebody wants to work with you, this is going out on YouTube. So if somebody wants to work with you, how do they get a hold of you?
All right. So you can call me directly. Phone number is 678-266-0167. I've got my
Awesome.
email that you can contact me at, which is Quentin, Quentin, Quentin Kelley with the EY .ffl@gmail.com. Just reach out to me and we can schedule a time to actually see how this could be a benefit to you.
Do you have an Instagram?
I do. Q Kelly. It's still Q Kelly photo. That's what I set that up. Yeah, a long time ago. People ask me if I'm a photographer. No, I just like taking pictures. So
All right. Well, reach out to him, guys. Awesome. Thanks for coming on, Kelly. I appreciate it. I
all
mean,
right.
Quentin.
Sorry,
Mr.
a lot of
Kelly, I
people call
should
me
say.
Kelly. A lot of people call me Kelly. It's okay. All right. Take care.